Hello everyone. A few weeks ago I made a video talking about the expensive side of McLaren ownership. After that video went out, I was contacted by a specialist company located near Silverstone here in the UK. Over the last few years they've been quietly making a name for themselves as the first experienced McLaren independents in the country. I paid them a little visit to learn a bit about the company and the ways that they are making McLaren ownership more affordable for more people. In this video, motorsport expert and engineer John talks us through a few of the things that you might want to look for if you are considering the purchase of a McLaren MP4 12C or 650S. They can perform an inspection on site from just under £200 or can travel to you depending on location. As we'll see, these cars are generally very well engineered, but having a bit of specialist knowledge and an expert eye could potentially save you an awful lot of money, stress and hassle.
Right, so a 12C 650 inspection. All this applies to all the models, but we're doing this on a 12C at the moment because it's ours. Going from the front of the vehicle back, these are all the bits you need to look at, ideally on a ramp. As you can see, I'm standing under a car. You can see a lot of these things just on the deck, but the bits to get towards the end, you need to get some panels off to look at it do it properly. Going from the front of the car, a couple of things worth looking at. Number one is this little quaint bit of hose pipe here. It's actually the drain from the scuttle. It easily gets detached from the washer jets, and that happens, water goes inside the compartment rather than going to the floor. It's a little minor thing, and you'll find some dealers are charging large amounts to change jets and things. Doesn't need it, just needs to plug it back in again is the answer. Other little bits worth of note, these little niche little rubber little things here, the deflectors. They don't actually do anything. They cost about 40 quid each. We still have ours, as you can see, they get hit. It's something to bear in mind. If they're both a bit torn to pieces, bear it in mind in terms of cost base for it. Same applies to these things here, these deflectors. Again, they're very prone to be breaking. I think we've got a couple of broken on our car. The McLaren will give you all kinds of stories about diverting airflow away from things. Given the choice, would I rather have them on the car? Yes. Is it going to be a deal breaker for me if I find what's not one there? No, not at all. Staying in the front, some of the vibration issues you may pick up on a road test will come from these lower bar arms here. This little bush here is prone to cracking. And it's an MOT fail in the UK if it does only leak from there. Sadly, Deere and McLaren don't supply that ball joint on its own. It's this whole arm here, which is 700 quid, depending which model of car you're talking about. Not expensive to replace, but in terms of overall labour-wise anyway, but the part itself is quite expensive. And again, the little leak is quite common. Vibration or any kind of juddering under steering, etc. 9 times out of 10 is this lower bush on both sides. There are stories into about lots of racks being replaced, etc. We've been in this 5 years. We've never replaced a rack. We've only found one rack that was an issue we sent back to a dealer for a warranty issue. We just don't recognise these stories about hundreds of racks being replaced or the idea of changing all the suspension. It really is not that big a deal. But in terms of vibration, I'd be looking there before looking at the rack is the answer. Again, underside of the car, see a check out the front under tray. A few little marks here and there you can be expected, but generally speaking, big cracks and this thing starts to get expensive. The front subframe, something to bear in mind, we've seen a few damage where they've been hit. Underneath all these bolts here are your TPSM sensors, so your tyre pressure management system. Underneath there is where it's bolted. That gets hit, that gets cracked, it's £1,000 to replace it, so something to bear in mind. Going back to the rest of the car, underside of the under tray is worth looking at to see how bad a damage it is or not. Should be nice and clean and neat and tidy. There's your fuel tank. This is one issue. This is the catch tank. It's a dry sump system on a McLaren, which this tank here literally goes all the way to top, buried at the top of the car. There is no easy way to replace it. The whole engine must come out. It's 15 hours worth of labour. What we have seen is some technicians, I call them, euphemistically call them technicians, where they have tightened up this sump plug too tight and have bent the tank. Now, that's not to say the tank will crack, but bearing on the tank on its own is 1,500 quid, another 15 hours of labour, it's a £3,500–4,000 £4,000 job to replace that tank. You don't want it damaged, you can help it. Right, to the crux of the matter here. A couple of things worth noting. Water pumps. Common leak failure, you will see dried water, coolant, etc. around this area here in the bottom of the pump where the sealer's gone. That's quite common. Here are some of the clips I mentioned. Obviously ours are all replaced with motorsport specification motor Jubilee clips, but these little clips here, thin little plastic things will come off. The way to tell, as you can see, there's the hose and there's the metal join, should be flush. If there's a gap in between the hose and the metal join, you see the hose is starting to move off. And it covers all these things, all around all those hoses. There are 18 in total that needs replacing. Other parts of the engine, you'll start to see some oil leaks there from the oil turbo feed pipe up here. You'll see a little weep of oil down in one of these oil feeds here, etc. about £170 part and about 2 hours to fix. So not disastrous, but it's a common failure if you can. You shouldn't see any oil residue underneath. They tend not to leak from terms of the main seals. They're all pretty strong and solid in that regard. So if we could keep a look underneath, if it's clean and neat and tidy, generally speaking, it's probably a good condition car. Right, gearbox, the bit everyone concerns about. This car is fitted with a catch tank, so we don't have the problem of the leaking around the top of the tank and then causing residue down the side. What we are looking for is also the telltale hole. Now, if you're looking at it, we've removed all 3 under trays. You've got the rear of the tray here. This is a separate section needs to be removed as well, and the front section. That is the hole you're looking for. I get where my finger is. There, look. So, what you do is you fire the car up, get it nice and warm, run the gearbox. If oil is leaking out of that hole at that point in time, you potentially have a gearbox rebuild required. Okay, a little bit of weepy residue like that is perfectly fine. That's what it's for. Any kind of oil coming out of that, and we're talking about a volume of oil, that should probably go onto the gearbox side. But you can't see that hole without all these trays being taken off. That takes about 35-40 minutes to do. We do a full inspection of this part for the car. We charge $199, including all the work to get done. Ideally is trying to make sure people get a better chance of getting a car they can look at and like the look of it can. Make sure no problems with it himself. Other than that, the rest of the car, as you can see, the rear under trays taken off. Again, look for any signs of any damage. We've never seen any with the rear subframe dented at all or damaged at all. They take a hit pretty well. And also leaks around here, which is the gearbox cooler. We've actually replaced one on ours. We put a hole in it and it has a very high pressure jet comes out the side of it when the matrix fails on that. Other than that, really it's a condition-based type scenario. Never replaced the rear arm yet, they're all pretty strong. Check all the suspension units, etc., making sure there's no residue around the shocks themselves. Again, they're pretty reliable in that regard. If there's a problem with the bowls, which is the common one to replace, you'll determine that from a road test. Road test for us and these things is to find yourself a road that you like and then drive it back and forth on different suspension settings. The car should feel subtly different, not dramatically so, in between each drive and feeling it. Again, ditto in terms of the car pulling, etc. I guarantee the geometry's out. It is worth checking that and budgeting that for when you get the car being done. Last thing is worth looking at, hard to see here. We've seen a few cars with the wrong coolant's been put in. Okay, it's quite crucial to get the right coolant match the car. You know, different colours, BMW have their colour and different vice versa. Same applies to Vauxhall and McLaren. They have their own specific coolant to go in. It's pink in colour, not blue. We've seen a few with blue coolant in, etc. Something to be careful of. Is it going to cause any damage? Probably not. But it shows someone's worked on the car who may not understand the car and the details they should do. Tyre wear, again, the same thing. Any kind of uneven tyre wear would indicate some kind of issue in terms of suspension, in terms of the geometry setup of the car. Doesn't necessarily mean disastrous. And a lot of other things check. Basically check all the bushes in the back here, and the roll bar bush is not technically a roll bar, it's a sway bar to process in the bush and here as well. And basically speaking, look for the condition. Other than that, they're pretty good. But the main things are gearbox check in terms of bits of sit on the front regarding the front bushes, etc., and the front lower arms. But other than that, good to go. Bottom line, if you see all everywhere, the chances of the cause of it, find out where the cause is, address it accordingly. One thing is quite a common issue on all the 12Cs is lights misting up. As you can see in ours, nice and clear, but generally you will find that these lights will start to mist up. Okay. The problem with this is expensive to replace. However, they're quite easy to fix. You have to take it apart, drill a hole in it, put a grommet in it, let all the moisture dry out, etc. So it is fixable. But this day and age, you'll probably find most of them have been replaced in the warranty, but it is a common failure again. Nothing to worry about in terms of running away from the car. Just bear it in mind when it comes to fixing these things if you can. Right, here we are on the interior of a 12C, very similar to a 650. Couple of things to note, generally speaking, the interior is pretty good. They're pretty well built. You may get some squeaks and some rattles from the dash, which comes from obviously being removed, etc. This is a Spider. They tend not to leak and they tend not to rattle. You may get some squeaks from the doors where they've been slammed, etc. This hasn't got soft closed doors fitted, but we can fit them for them. It's quite straightforward. Couple things to note though, what level of IRS it's got. All levels of IRS are crap. They just don't work. It's the worst thing they did. This is an RS1, so it's the first one, so it's the highest level of crap you can get. And it means it does one thing very well, but it can't do more than one thing at a time. So if you listen to your stereo on the iPod, the sat-nav won't work. You get a phone call, if you get a chance to get a signal, then the radio won't work. You can upgrade them, but for £3,500, we didn't bother. It works on iPod, it works on a phone individually. The sat-nav is truly woeful though. If you go via Birmingham, via Lincoln to get there, that kind of thing. But it'll work, and any problems with it, etc., you can just basically reset it. To work out an RS1, these little divot buttons here, that determines RS1, and you can see from the screen what it will do. This is fitted with a full carbon interior, so you may find this is plastic, etc. Makes a big difference in terms of quality. Did to the steering wheel. Things worth looking at, if you see the colour of this one, this is the HVAC screen. So this whole section here, granted ours is in carbon, is very prone to failing, so the lights don't work. It'll still work and function, but it means that essentially speaking you won't be able to see the lights in terms of where the buttons are. It's expensive to replace. There is a place in the States apparently you can reprogram them and replace the small parts in there, but we've not confirmed they work yet. But bottom line there is that either ignore it or budget the best part of £1,000 to fix it. They're £400 aside. Other than that, there's no real problems with the interior of these cars. If you're looking at a Spider, make sure it works up and down. Make sure you check the tonneau. And also, if you can, road test it, the roof up and the roof down in case no wind noise. We tend to get some of the strips, the wind strips go a little bit loose sometimes, you can. But overall, they're not a major problem in terms of squeaks and rattles. They're a very well built car and put together in that regard.